If you grew up in the church, there's a good chance that someone told you that homosexuality is a sin.
What?
But what if it's not? And what if we've been reading the Bible all wrong? In this video, we're looking at Leviticus chapter 18 and 20 to answer the question, what is an abomination? Let's find out. Abomination. It's a word that's been used to condemn LGBTQ people for centuries. And it's a word that we find in these two passages from Leviticus, which we're going to look at today. But what does it actually mean in its original context? Hi, I'm Jim. I'm a real-life pastor and an amateur runner. And this is part of the series where we're going through every passage in the Bible that Christians mistakenly use to condemn homosexuality. And we're going to show why they shouldn't be used that way and what they might actually mean instead. So, ready for Leviticus? Are you ready for Leviticus? Now that's a question I bet no one's ever asked you. Let's look at these two verses, Leviticus 18:22 and Leviticus 20:13. They're actually saying the exact same thing, just repeated twice, but I'll give you a second to read them both. Ready? Okay, yeah, interesting stuff in the Bible, huh? But what does this actually mean? In order to understand these verses, I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine a wedding between two men, and they're serving shrimp cocktail, and they're throwing a football in the parking lot, and they're wearing these nice poly cotton blend tuxedos. Most Christians would have a problem with just one thing in that picture, but all of the things I just mentioned are listed in Leviticus, and they're all called abominations. Wait. What?
What?
The book of Leviticus is filled with rules for the priests and the people in their worshiping life. It's all these rituals and purity and how to be a priest and what to wear. It's actually an interesting book. You should definitely read it. Most people just read these verses so they can hit people on the head of the Bible and say, see, the Bible says. The Bible says a lot of things. And everything I mentioned in that story, shrimp, football, blended clothing, are all listed as abominations here. Abomination is the Hebrew word toevah. And toevah is a word used to describe things that are ritually impure, things that are off limits for the way God is commanding this particular culture and group in this particular time to live and behave and act. No cheeseburgers, no football, no blended clothing, no working on Saturdays, and men can't have sex with men. But it's more than just that. Let's talk about it. In this time and culture, the concern was about male power hierarchies and particularly protecting lower status men and slaves from exploitation by men of higher ranks. It wasn't about consensual love. The law addresses a heterosexual man asserting dominance. It doesn't say anything about the identity of a gay man or a queer person like we know in our world today. This is the problem when you just take the words off the page and copy and paste them from one culture to another. What was relevant then might be completely irrelevant today. And if you're just saying, see, the Bible says, well, then this shirt is an abomination. Every game of football is an abomination. And I don't see Christians getting up in arms about that. Let me tell you another story that might help us understand this cultural difference another way. Imagine you're walking a dog. What's on the dog's feet? Most of you probably said, nothing. The dog just goes on a walk. But if you live in New York City, there's a good chance you might put little booties on your dog's feet. Why? Because to a New Yorker, a barefoot dog walking around the streets of New York and then coming in your house and jumping on your couch in bed, that's an abomination. The sidewalks of New York are notoriously covered in all sorts of things you don't want any bare feet touching, human or, I was going to say feline, but dogs aren't feline. What are dogs? Canine, human or canine. And so for a New Yorker, a barefoot dog going outside and inside is an abomination. I mean, you might feel the same way about just shoes in your house. These are things that in one context, they mean one thing, but you go to another context and it's like, meh. So Leviticus isn't actually talking about gay men at all. It's talking about straight men who are being a little too abusive with their power, which that might still be relevant for today. But it's not fair to take this verse and use it to clobber queer people for simply being who they are, because this verse is not about queer identity. It's about straight people abusing their power in a sexual way. And ultimately, if you want to read these particular verses of Leviticus and take them literally, but then you don't do the same with the rest of the book, well, isn't that convenient? What a nice selective reading you've got there. Really, we need to take the whole Bible seriously, recognizing where it came from, when it came from, and then we can figure out what it might still be saying in our world today. And this verse is not saying anything about gay people. Now you know.